All right, let's talk about grad school applications. We're going to go deep on building a real strategic operating system for it all. The goal here is to take that feeling of just complete overwhelm and turn it into a clear, actionable plan. It's time to stop just reacting and start moving with some serious precision. And hey, right off the bat, let's get one thing totally straight. If you're feeling crushed by this process, it is not, I repeat, not a personal failure. It's actually a sign that you're trying to juggle a super high stakes, complicated decision without any kind of visible system. So the problem isn't you, it's the fact that no one ever gave you the playbook. So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to figure out why this whole thing feels so chaotic. Then we'll actually build your operating system, get all those documents under control, learn how to think like a smart investor, and finally, take all that free-floating anxiety and turn it into concrete, actionable steps. Okay, let's start with the diagnosis. Why does this process make even the smartest, most capable people feel completely destabilized? Well, the answer isn't in you. It's in the structure of the problem itself. You know that feeling you're having? It actually has a name. Cognitive overload under uncertainty. And what's so powerful about calling it that is it takes stress from this vague, personal feeling and turns it into a specific, structural problem we can solve. It's not about your emotions, it's about managing way too many variables with way too little clarity. And this overload? It's basically being driven by four huge forces hitting you all at once. The stakes are incredibly high, right? This stuff affects your career, your money, maybe even where you live. The outcomes are totally uncertain. You're juggling a million moving parts, essays, deadlines, recommenders. And on top of all that, your whole academic identity feels like it's on the line. I mean, it's a perfect storm for anxiety. So the single most important thing to get is this. Your stress isn't coming from how hard it is to write an essay. It's coming from the ambiguity of the entire process. When your brain can't see a clear structure or a path forward, its default setting is just to create anxiety. So if the problem is structural, then guess what? The solution has to be structural too. And this brings us to the absolute core of what we're talking about today, building your very own application operating system. This is the big mindset shift. We're not going to chase the vague, fuzzy goal of feeling less stressed. No. Instead, we are going to build a system that pretty much makes stress irrelevant. We're going to impose some serious order on all that chaos. All right, let's get practical. The very first parts of our operating system are all about taking that frantic, panic-driven energy and turning it into calm, deliberate project management. First up, the timeline. You have to stop thinking only about those final deadlines. I want you to create one single master deadline document for every single program. And then you work backward. If an application is due December 15th, your personal deadline for the final draft is now December 1st. See? When you make time visible, you kill the anxiety of the unknown. Next, let's talk document discipline. Does a file named SOP_final_v2_real.doc look a little too familiar? Yeah, that kind of version chaos creates all this hidden stress and mental friction. The fix is so simple. One master folder with clean, logical subfolders for your statement of purpose, your CV, transcripts, drafts. A single source of truth. And this gets at the real why behind all this organizing. These systems aren't just about being neat. Every tiny detail you force your brain to remember is mental energy you can't use for what actually matters, your research, your writing, your strategy. We are literally externalizing the cognitive load so your brain can do the heavy lifting. Okay, with our organizational systems locked in, we can now kick things up a notch. It is time to stop applying based on vague hope and start applying with a clear-headed strategy, just like a smart investor would. So instead of just getting dazzled by prestige, I want you to evaluate every single program against a weighted set of criteria that actually matter to you. How good is the research alignment? What's the real probability of getting full funding? Does the location give you any kind of strategic advantage? And what are the actual career outcomes for people who graduate? This turns a gut feeling into a data-driven decision. Now let's visualize your list of schools differently. It's not a ladder you can fall from, it's a diversified investment portfolio. You've got your core holdings, these are programs where you're a really strong match, and they give you psychological safety. You've got your growth assets, these are your reach schools that push you to be excellent. And you have your cash reserve, a solid backup plan that totally eliminates that existential dread. Part of being a good investor is managing your resources, and your most important resource is your energy. And listen, this isn't some mental health fluff. It's a strategic move. Research clearly shows a link between high stress and burnout, but that connection gets way, way weaker with good quality sleep. Protecting your sleep is protecting your most valuable asset. So you need to practice what we call cognitive conservation. That means using focused 2 to 3 hour deep work blocks with every single distraction turned off. And make a rule for yourself. You will never, ever edit a high-stakes document like your personal statement at midnight. It just wrecks your stability without actually making you any better. We've built our systems, we've defined our strategy. Now for the final and maybe most powerful piece, a tool to look the fear of failure right in the eye and turn it into fuel for action. It's called the Premortem protocol. Here's exactly how it works. Step 1 is to project. I want you to imagine it's a year from now and the worst happened. You got rejected by every single program. Okay. Step 2 is to analyze. Write down the 3 most likely, most concrete reasons that happened. Was your statement of purpose too generic? Was your research alignment pretty weak? Now, step 3, mitigate. You take one specific, tangible action today to prevent each of those reasons from ever coming true. Because when you boil it all down, this is the choice every applicant has to make. You can either proactively build a system to manage this process, or you can just let the process manage you. And trust me, if you don't build a system, stress will build one for you. And that system is called panic. So let's end with this. I want you to shift the question you're asking yourself. Stop asking, how do I feel less stress? And start asking, what structure am I missing? Build your timeline. Organize your documents. Define your strategy. Because stress only starts to become manageable when all that ambiguity becomes visible.